Hey folks, welcome to another VR video. Today I'm checking out a walk in the woods VR, which is literally an application that has you walking through the woods. It's got some stellar graphics that are really pushing my headset. I'm using the Rift S, which renders at 80 hertz. I've disabled motion smoothing because with motion smoothing on, this is a horrible mess. But even with motion smoothing turned off and moving at a pretty slow pace here, walking through the woods is slightly problematic. Now, I could turn and I can walk through the woods wherever I want to go. And I have to say, the scene is beautiful. Very, very good graphics, very polished details on these rocks. I do feel like I'm in a nice forest here. Like, as I walk over here, the shadows are good. It actually looks like kind of a dead tree in the dark here. And I'm not restricted to a specific path, so I can walk through. I mean, obviously, I can't climb these rocks or things of that nature, but I can walk through the woods wherever I want to go. Let's see what happens if I try to. Yeah, it stops me from climbing the rocks. But otherwise, it's a nice, relaxing trip through the forest, outside of the fact that I'm sure what you're seeing is even more of a stuttery, jerky mess than I am. I feel like this particular application would work really well if I was just seated in the woods listening to the sounds of the application. Because again, this is a beautiful scene. A nice looking forest. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so just north of me are the redwood forests here in California. When I got married, actually, we had our honeymoon in Muir Woods, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. But yeah, there's another glitchy stutter there. So this forest scene is tremendous and, brings back great memories, especially since right now, due to social distancing, I'm kind of staying out of nature. So this is a cool look at nature from that perspective. And I don't know, maybe if I had a better system, I don't think motion smoothing alone is the issue here. Maybe it's just pushing my GPU. I have a 1070, GTX 1070 in my laptop, which is what I'm currently using here. Oh, this forest is super expansive too. Like, if I look around, there's a fence over here. Let's go down that way a bit. So we're going past like a little shack over there. Has a fence around it. There's a fence over here as well. And the sound changes as we're going too. Wonder what that shack is. We'll go over this way, and I'm pretty sure that fence. As we go this way, we can hear the sounds of the pond, but you'll notice it's not letting us go over to cross that bridge. That's interesting. So there are some limits to the scene. It said, you can free walk around wherever you want to in the forest, but it's not completely open. There are some walls to this forest, for sure. How far up this way can we go, though? Little stream over there. Now, what I do see is it's a beautiful natural scene, but I don't see any animals. I'd love to see the scene pop in a little bit faster too. That's it kind of feels like going through Skyrim actually in VR, but with more realistic graphics. Like if you had a high resolution mod on Skyrim, um, where it kind of the render distance kind of builds as you go. That's what this feels like to me, a bit. Like I said, it's a beautiful scene. If I just stayed completely still and just looked at the trees and the mountains and the scenery around me, it could be really relaxing. It's really just this juddery. It's not a blur, but kind of a judder as I'm moving that takes me out of it a bit. Also, there's not a whole lot to the scene. Like I've done my lap now. As soon as I go around this corner here, I've pretty much completed the entirety of this forest experience. But again, it's a beautiful nature walk. I wonder if I can walk over past these. Nope, that's the bulk of it. And I am noticing though, after the scene renders, like after it's loaded in the graphics, it's less juddery now. So maybe it's just like your initial walkthrough, it's caching all of this. It's kind of like on the Nintendo Switch, the same thing happens. If you play a high graphic intensive game like Zelda Breath of the Wild, when you're first playing it, it kind of is a juddery, like 20 FPS kind of thing until it actually catches up and pulls together all the shaders, pulls together all the renders, things of that nature. This walk through the woods is kind of like that in a lot of ways. And again, I don't know what you're seeing on the spectator view, but what I'm seeing now is a much smoother experience than when I first loaded up the experience. But I do wish, in addition to rocks and shrubs and the hints and sounds of life, I'd love to see like a rabbit hop through, or birds, or a squirrel, or something of that nature as I'm going through, to make it even more lifelike and more realistic. The other thing that I might actually do, this doesn't require motion controls. As you can see, there's no hands, there's no arms. So I am curious actually if this would work with my Pimax 5K Plus. Now, famous last words. The Pimax 5K Plus would probably cripple this device. I'm going to try to go down this way and see how far I can get. Yeah, nowhere. So it is just that one circle that we can walk through. But it does run much smoother now that things have loaded and popped in. The graphics are working much better now. The feel of it's not a jerky mess like it was earlier. Again, you're still seeing shadows and light and things baking in front of me essentially as I go. But it's a much better feeling inside the application. Yeah, you get stuck. There's still a wall here, but overall, it's not a bad experience. This application is available on Steam. The spectator view on the PC actually has a FPS count and things of that nature. I can tell you for sure this was dropping below the 80 frames per second that I would expect to see, and it was kind of stuttery to even move in the first parts of this, but now working pretty well after a few minutes and a whole lap through. The second lap has been pretty visually stunning, to be perfectly honest. I think that's going to about wrap this up. We'll get around the corner and back to the part where we started from. If you're into nature and into walking simulators, this isn't a terrible experience. Like I said, probably visually on the PC it looks even worse. But if you are susceptible at all to motion sickness, the stutter that this gives, especially the first time I went around the scene, is not pleasant. Overall, though, I am glad the developers pinged me and asked me to check this experience out. This is a Walk in the Woods VR. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, get out there and enjoy some VR for yourself. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.